today we are going to be checking out this guitar. This is a vintage Greco. It is a EG500, and as you can see, it is a reissue of the Les Paul Deluxe with the mini humbuckers. Let's dig in. This guitar is an EG500 from 1979. You can tell the date on this by looking at the serial. It starts with D79. D is for the month, which is going to be April in this case. And then 79 will put this at 1979 production. The EG500 is the base level Greco that will have a set neck. For those unfamiliar, the Greco model tier system is basically the number is in reference to the original price in yen. So a EG500 would have originally retailed at 50,000 yen back in 1979. As the number goes up, the price goes up, and the features and quality and all that kind of stuff also tends to rise as well. So you'd also see models like the EG700, EG850, EG1000, and so on. And as you go up the model tier list, you get some pretty cool specs, such as like when you get to some of the higher ones, you'll get like a lacquer finish or different model pickups. And you also have many models that'll sit below the EG500 that'll have a bolt-on within the realm of the Les Paul style guitars. We don't see too many of those bolt-on models. We usually start at the 500 series. We're gonna dig in a little bit to that in just a moment, because that's what makes this guitar stand out a lot. If you enjoy the videos we put out here on the channel, we would love if you took the time to check out our shop. We have a bunch of cool inventory at the moment. We especially have a lot of great Japanese-made guitars, as well as, of course, USA-made guitars and all kinds of other stuff. But we would love if you checked out our inventory at a flashphotogear.com or scan the QR code here. We have over 400 guitars in stock as of making this video, so I would be surprised if it's not something you would enjoy. For those unfamiliar with the guitar this is trying to be, let's dig into what the original Gibson was. Some of this might be rehash if you are familiar with the lineage of Les Pauls, but of course the most iconic Les Pauls are those from 1958 to 1960, the Les Paul Burst. The Burst actually wasn't that popular at the time. It was actually changed into what we now know as the SG in the early 60s and then discontinued altogether for a few years. When the Les Paul would come back in the late 60s, Gibson did not immediately do a Burst, but they did a Les Paul Deluxe that looked a whole lot like this. It featured mini humbuckers, which were new for the model, and it wasn't really the guitar that players were looking for. By the late 60s, early 70s, people were definitely looking for a Les Paul Burst reissue, and they weren't doing that yet. They were doing this. This is kind of one of many things that happened during the Norlin era that people don't love by today's standards. This guitar is, of course, modeled after a guitar from the early Norlin era and was made during Gibson's Norlin era. About 10 years older than the Gibson's original release that it is reissuing. So that brings us back to this guitar. I think the most interesting spec here is these mini humbuckers. These are made by Maxon, who are very well known for making incredible pickups, and these do not disappoint. I think they sound really great, especially once you start introducing some gain, but they sound great clean as well, so I'm really enjoying these. Now, you won't see these pickups on very many guitars. These Maxon mini humbuckers are pretty rare, and that's probably one of the things that makes this guitar so valuable. Now, we have had many EG500s over the years. I've played even more, especially on our trips over to Japan. And while I'd say most Greco guitars are pretty great across the board, sometimes the EG500 level can be a little bit dicey. This isn't necessarily because they weren't made well. This is more that the base level Grecos didn't always live the easiest life, and some of them, the frets are all torn up or whatever, and obviously we'll try to stay away from those guitars. That's not what we're looking to find. That's not why we travel all the way to Japan. We try to find the ones that are still really great. This is an outlier. This is by far the nicest Greco that I've ever had within that EG500 range. And I would say that this is even better than a lot of higher tier Grecos. And I'll take it a step further and say this particular example is even a lot better than a lot of Norlin Era Gibsons that I have had. So when we came across this guitar, it honestly just kind of blew me away, and I knew we had to have it and knew that it was definitely worth making its own video on. Neck profile wise, this one is pretty slim, definitely in like 60s territory, so love that. Nice dark rosewood board. This example in particular is still super original, which is great. It's been definitely well kept. The frets are in nice shape, which is nice to see. Definitely had quite a few cool EG500s come through over the years that, well, the guitar itself was great, the frets were not in the best shape, and that took it away from really being great. So seeing this in this condition is really awesome. You even still get the original EG500 sticker, even if it is torn up a little bit. My biggest takeaway with this is just you can never judge a guitar just by the model tier it sits under. Sometimes you'll see something that's maybe lower end than you typically be looking for, and it can absolutely blow you away. I could have very easily passed over this and said, no, like I'm focusing on looking for only the kind of higher tier Grecos at the moment. But I'm glad that I didn't, because as soon as I picked this up, I went, oh, this one definitely strikes above a lot of the others that I've come across. Now I think I have to play every single EG500 or really any model tier Greco that I come across, because some have definitely survived better than others. And this one in particular is a great example of that. The biggest detractor a lot of people will note with the Norlin Era Gibson is the fretwork. A lot of them are called the fretless wonder for having very flat frets, which are not the most comfortable, at least for my personal preferences and a lot of other players' preferences. And I'm happy to report that this does not suffer from that. The frets on here feel much better than a lot of Norlin Era Gibsons. One of the videos we were doing recently, we checked out a Sonex from the Norlin Era, and I absolutely loved that guitar, but the one takeaway was that the frets were pretty flat on it, as you would expect. If it wasn't for that, I really think that would have knocked that guitar up a few notches. It was kind of a bummer, because in every other way that guitar was great. It sounded great, neck profile was super comfortable, very resonant. But yeah, the frets just were a little low for my personal taste. Something like this is a great middle ground, where it's obviously the aesthetic of that like late 60s, early 70s thing, but playability wise, it's kind of more what you would expect for a 60s style reissue or even a more modern guitar. I would not say this plays like a 70s guitar. It definitely feels more like a reissue of something from the 60s, mostly based on this neck profile. Obviously spec wise and aesthetic wise, this mirrors the Norlin Era, but playability wise, definitely a bit different. I hope you guys have enjoyed hanging out and checking out this guitar. Please let me know down below in the comments if you guys enjoy videos in this style. We get so many cool guitars through, and we obviously don't get to document all of them, but lately we've been trying to take the time to do more dedicated videos like this one that are focused on just one guitar. Almost every guitar that comes through here has something unique and interesting about it, so I would love to start documenting more of my favorites as they come in. So let us know down below in the comments, do you have any Greco guitars? How do you feel about Greco or any of the Japanese Les Paul style guitars of that era? And also let us know how you feel about the Norlin Era guitars from Gibson at that time. The 70s was definitely an interesting time for guitar manufacturing. We've done a few other videos on that topic, so we'd love if you check some of those out. Don't forget to like, comment, share the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you in another video soon. Bye. Now, while this video was obviously focused on this Greco, we talked a lot about Norlin Era Gibson. So if you want to learn more about that, we did a video, so you should check it out.